Well, hello, hello, hello! Just a little bit of seasonal teletext art, I guess. I believe other people have attempted this, and will have probably done a better job than I ever will. To give it away a little bit, I was struggling to think of what to do for New Year's teletext art. Now, what sorts of things are associated with New Year? I wanted to do some meat and potato pie, but who really, apart from me, has meat and potato pie on New Year's Day? You might notice that it's black and white at the moment. Probably the best thing to do is fill it all in black and white at first, and then think about colours last of all. So it's a sort of, it's not isometric. I don't know what the name of this perspective is. It's not going to be a perfect representation of the thing that I'm doing, but then what is when it comes to teletext, eh? And just like that, our artwork is almost complete. Yeah, I think, is it Blippy Pixel? Pixel Blip has done this. He's done everything. I bet Horsenberger has as well. The thing about teletext, don't forget, is as long as it roughly looks like what it's supposed to be, then that's good enough. I'm sure that's what Bob Ross tells you as well. I suppose I could increase the size of the clock there, in the hope that we can fit all of these numbers on. Well, they're not numbers, they're just notches, aren't they? I mean, it looks more even, that's the most important thing. Yes, that's the nature of teletext, once again. You just mess around with it until it looks about right. Oh, there is a box around the clock. There are two boxes, in fact. We'll just represent one of them. We'll simplify the design. I've not decided fully whether this is going to be a black and white piece or whether I'm going to fill in details later. But for now, we'll leave it as black and white. It may turn out that black and white is the most effective way to go for this. But as I said, we'll leave those decisions for later. The lines don't have to be completely filled in. They can be like that if you want. But I think we're going to create this illusion of depth here. Now don't forget, you can keep making the tweaks for as long as you like. You don't even have to complete your artwork on the same day. You can save it and come back to it later. Later in the week, later in the month, later in the year, another year, as I sometimes do. Let's start on the fireworks. Something I've noticed is that our background is going to have to be black, isn't it? So fireworks can show up as a lighter colour. We're just going to do a halo around here, very roughly at first, and we can start deleting this. And eventually, I think, it'll just be a 1 pixel frame, or a 1 pixel halo. So eventually I'll do that all the way around. And I think the way I'm going to do this is as if you're splatting some paint on a canvas. Let's try one here. You've got the central splat, which is going to be 4 blocks, say, and then you've got bits coming off that. That's a rough outline of our firework. And now I'm going to work away at it, chip away at it, much like a sculptor would his sculpture, and just try a few things. That's the fun thing about teletext, just experiment. See what you can do. If you make a mistake or you make a mark you're not happy with, you can go back to it and change it, draw back over. Thicker the closer it is to the center of the star, and just drifting away like that. But it's going to represent roughly which way the firework is exploding, outwards in this case. Yeah, we're going to represent the curve of each trail of the firework. And that's a pretty good representation of a firework, I think. Well, they look like feet now on an ant. I think that's okay. That's one of those Bob Ross happy accidents. We need our own term for happy accidents here, don't we? I may come back to that firework, but for now we're going to call it done. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna cheat. That's not exactly how it looks on the image. But does that really matter? I mean, it's never gonna look 100% correct, is it? It's teletext. It's not high enough resolution to be. Okay, I've used the very technical technique of arching my neck closer to the reference image, and I can see that there are what appear to be tiles. So we're going to add some of those in here. I'm going to have a pattern to represent these, and that will hopefully show, or help to show, the direction in which they are facing. I believe the fireworks are actually fired from the clock tower, so let's represent that here by having one just at the back. Maybe roughly the same design as the last one, spanning a shorter distance, because this one has just fired. Remember guys, just experiment and see what happens. There's no great secret to teletext art. People might try and sell you ebooks saying, oh, this is the secret to art, but there is no real secret. You just play around with things forever. In the bottom right here, we have the London Eye. The first thing we do is draw our line, and then sort of bulge it out so it more resembles a quarter of a circle. If you've ever seen wireframe graphics, or vector graphics I suppose from the 80s, it'll be a little bit like that. And again, it's not a perfect quadrant. Now of course you might choose to draw the outline straight into the editor, and that would work too. But the way I think I prefer to do things is using the big thick blocks first. I'll leave it like that for now. So we've got some V-shaped struts. Let's not make that right up against the edge. What about that? Yeah, I think that can work. For this, you'll probably notice that I'm deleting a few of the pixels. Again, just a bit of trial and error until you think it looks okay, to get the correct texture out of it. Again, we don't want to fill in everything. We're just giving an impression, because teletext in a way is all about impressionism. A lot of artwork is, to a great extent, impressionism, because you're creating your own impression of the work, even if it isn't technically resembling something from the Impressionism movement. We can say impressionistic. I believe some of the fireworks are fired from the London Eye itself, so we'll have one here as well. The same way as the other one, I think, and approximately the same size. How's that? Looks okay, doesn't it? Okay being the important word. Often okay is fine, when it comes to teletext anyway. I'm looking at the reference image, and I can see we don't only have fireworks, we have smoke. Now the smoke is probably going to be a different colour, and once again I'm going to use these crosses. I suppose it's a bit of a dithering pattern as well, to show which way the smoke is going, and as it moves outwards it thins out. Well, it's supposed to be smoke. I'll colour it differently so you can tell it's smoke or something. Let's do a rocket. Sort of like a shooting star effect. It's going to be thick at the end, and then thinner to represent the trail. If you notice, these aren't perfectly lined up, these pixels. With this particular piece, we're not aiming for perfectly lined up things. It doesn't have to be perfectly aligned. Another day, that might be something we do, but to capture a little bit of the realism and unpredictability of fireworks, we're going to be a little bit naughty. I've decided to fatten out this area here to try and make it into a larger firework. And I'm just going to fill up some of the black space. Right, it would be white space normally if you're drawing on a piece of paper, but in this case, blank space is black space. Okay, so I'm going to add some colour now. This is where it could all fall apart. Certainly these bits down here, I want them to be smoke, so maybe they should be blue. We face a bit of a decision here with that firework. Now, because teletext is an old technology, if I show you where these control codes are, wherever you place them has to remain blank. As you can see, it's a black area. So it sort of ruins our artwork a little bit, but not too much. We can get away with it. And I guess it doesn't matter too much if there's a bit of bleed. If you've ever seen Pixel Blip's artwork, it thrives on that sort of thing. There's some more smoke up here, and again we're unfortunately going to go over some of our previous artwork, but only small bits. That's a little bit of smoke. Let's move this over here actually to avoid the control code, and this is smoke here. We can get rid of the shooting star or move the shooting star, and if I put the control codes back up, you can see that we've got room to add more blue bits. I think a few more bright colours should do the trick here, but should we colour the tower? Let's try red. I don't mind the way this is bleeding in here. I quite like the aesthetic of it. There you go, you can see that it's behind the tower now. Let's make the clock white, as it is in real life. Oh, we'll have to get rid of a bit of the detail there, sadly. Oh, we might have to get rid of a bit of the clock as well. Yeah, we might have to change our clock design. Oh, you can see that that's deleted quite a bit of our detail there, but that's okay, because it gives us a bit of room around the clock tower, gives it a bit of room to breathe. What I'm going to do is fill in this area and turn it inside out, so to speak. Now we're going to add the same pattern on this side, and that works quite well, I believe. However, I've just realized what I've done here. The other side is the light side, isn't it? Put that back how it was. I'm going to do that on the other side, because this area here, the front side, is going to be the light side. That's the side that the light is shining on it. So we can fill that in, and that looks okay. In fact, I think that looks quite nifty indeed, as Bob Ross might never say. I've decided to thin out this line up here as well. Let's add a few more details on the clock. Where we can anyway. There's not enough room to add those details everywhere. And at this stage in the artwork, I'm just tidying things up and adding little touches here and there. And finally, let's add some more colour to these wonderful fireworks. We'll make this one yellow. We'll have some stripes. Some of the shooting stars are half yellow and half white. Now just to finish off here, I want to add something. Bong! Of course! It has to bong the clock, doesn't it, at midnight? And to make this stand out, I believe we'll make it flash. Flash is one of Teletext's most iconic features, and we'll add that to wherever we've put bong. Bong, bong, and indeed bong. We'll add the flashing effect wherever we can fit it here, but not everywhere. As you can see, it's getting quite crowded around here. But we'll fit it where we can. Yes, that's looking pretty good. In fact, well, I hesitate to say a teletext artwork is ever finished, because you could work on it forever. For example, I've just realized we can add some more bits here. And we're going to call that done, I believe. So thank you everybody for tuning in to this episode of The Joy of Teletext. Definitely not a rip-off of Bob Ross. Happy New Year, and we'll see you next time. Keep it blocky, and sayonara.